if you're familiar with DeFi Saver, you could have probably guessed my name already. But yeah, I'm Nikola. I'm a backend lead at DeFi Saver. And today I'm going to walk you through the automation with DeFi Saver and our plans in the future, basically. So to start with that, we need to go way back to Thailand in 2018. We went there as a team for just a vacation, basically. And at the time, Maker was becoming more popular. And so Nenad, my colleague at the time, now CEO of DeFi Saver, had a position in Maker. And so we were riding motorcycles around, and we saw ETH price drops. It was crazy. Nenad was so afraid that he will get liquidated. And so we sit on motorcycles, went back to the apartment. And so he did what basically would anyone do at the moment. He took a little bit of his collateral, he sold it for DAI and paid back his debt. His ratio went up in that point. So how that exactly worked, I'll try to explain on an example. So if you have a position and you have, for example, 1,400 in collateral and 800 in debt, your ratio is 175%. But if you take 200 from your collateral and pay back your debt for 200, your ratio actually goes to 200. So your ratio goes up and you're more protected from liquidation. Okay, so that's just so you understand the basic points. And now we can go back to Nenad's story. So we went back to the apartment. He saved himself from liquidation, which is amazing. But even better, he thought of an idea about CDP Saver at the time. So basic features for CDP Saver would be repay. That's the process I explained just a moment earlier. And boost, which is the other way around. So basically, you would take more DAI, buy ETH with it, and put it as a collateral. So that's our two core features for the new product named CDP Saver. And we can do them in one transaction. Beside that, we wanted a sleek UX and UI, and we came up with after values and stuff like that, which were really important at the time because people didn't understand concept of repay and boost really well, so we wanted to show them in advance what's going to happen so they know. And yeah, so for a user, now it was a lot easier. He would come to CDP Saver, he would type in amount, see exactly what's going to happen, and just click repay button, we would repay his position, and he would be safe from liquidation. Well, not all the time, because like if you're sleeping or if you want to go for a vacation, it's a little bit hard to follow all the prices and be able to react all the time. So in that moment, we came up with automation. So we wanted to automate first repay process, because that was super important for us to save people from liquidations. And the core concept idea is quite simple, honestly. Like, you follow the ratio of the user. In case he is below a certain point, you call transaction and you repay his debt. But what we wanted to make sure is that every user has custody over his own position, that he doesn't give the position to us, and also that we are unable to do anything maliciously or something by mistake. So we came up with a smart contract layer that protects the user from us doing anything maliciously. So the smart contracts make sure that, for example, we are not allowed to do anything with your position if you are not out of the bounds that you set. And also, for example, if you are below, let's say 180%, and we are able to react, smart contracts make sure that we can only move your ratio in the right direction. So we can't do different action or do something bad with your position. And yeah, so around that time approximately, Compound and Aave also showed up. And we saw a huge potential in both and wanted to integrate them in our dashboard as well. And at that time, we wanted to provide the same set of features as for Maker, and also to provide automation for both protocols. As you can imagine now, CDP Saver having Maker protocol, Compound, and Aave, CDP in the name didn't work for us anymore. So we wanted to change that, and that's how DeFi Saver became DeFi Saver from CDP Saver. Okay, so few weeks after we released automation, it was the first Ethereum price drop. It wasn't a huge drop, maybe like 15% or something like that. And we didn't have too many positions. It was maybe 15 users or something like that at the time. But for us, like, I remember I was glued to monitor, like just checking that everything is working correctly and making sure that people are getting repaid. And so I remember we were super happy when we saw that we saved all those positions and that people didn't get liquidated because of us. And I believe that's the first time we actually saw a huge potential in the project. And after that crash, we did a lot of work to make the system better. But then Black Thursday came up on 2020. I assume many of you remember that day. It was 12 March 2020. I remember it for sure, honestly. It was like a huge test for all DeFi protocols, I would say. The price dropped, ETH price dropped for 50 or 60% at the time. And like everyone else, like nobody expected what can happen in those situations. Gas prices went up madly. Protocols weren't prepared basically for everything what's going to happen at the time. And everything, like we saved a lot of users and we saw a huge gratitude. I'll just show some of these. And after that, we made a more robust system, like I assume all DeFi protocols did as well. And since then, like in the last year and a half or year and a half, I feel that all the crashes since then, we did show that users can count on us and that we will save them from liquidation at any point and at any crash, basically. Well, so at this point, like we are definitely a platform where you come to be protected from liquidations. Like we are a place to go for that. But even in the first year, we saw potential to automate different stuff, and not just boost and repays, but everything else as well. And in the first year of our existence, Maker made a new system called multi-collateral DAI, and before that it was just a single collateral DAI. So to be able to move your position from single collateral DAI to multi-collateral DAI, you would have to, there would need to be enough liquidity in multi-collateral DAI protocol. Sorry. So most of the solutions in the beginning, including us, we thought about how to allow users to partially move their positions. And that would work, but on the other hand, it would be more gas costly because user would need to pay for each part. They would need to pay like the same amount as moving the whole position. And also, user would still need to watch out for liquidity in new protocol and to be able to react at the right time. As you can imagine, we figured out that we can use our automation system to do that automatically. So we built a one-time subscription model for users where they could have come to our website, subscribe for moving position from single collateral DAI to multi-collateral DAI, and we would watch for liquidity, and as soon as there is enough liquidity, we would move their position to the new system. And exactly at that point, the subscription would become invalid. So it would be just a one-time subscription for them, and we couldn't do anything else after. In the past 2 years, we also received a lot of requests from other people and protocols as well. Like protocols would usually ask us to automate boost and repays for their protocols. And a lot of users asked for some more specific automations for themselves, priority. And so at that point, we kind of, every time someone would request something, we would either talk or have a meeting or whatever, and we would try to figure out, does it make sense for us to automate that, and how much resources it would use and stuff like that. And to be fair, most cases we would just say, no, it's not worth it for us. Like, it would take too much work to do that, and it is just for one customer or maybe 2 or 3. And at that time, we were like thinking, okay, but let's try to at least allow users to do all the stuff manually. So we built something that we named Recipe Creator, and kind of allowing our users to become chefs and use basic ingredients, which are basic actions in each protocol and build their own recipes. So users would be able to take a flash loan to withdraw something from one protocol, maybe move it to another one. Basically, they could do anything they wanted with our UI. And we saw that our users are becoming better and better chefs, honestly. So what we thought about later, okay, let's try to automate that as well. And now we came up with a system called automated strategies. And strategy is a combination of both triggers and recipes that I mentioned earlier. So what you will be able to do is decide what your triggers are, and as soon as they're triggered, we will call transaction and do a recipe you created, basically. That will allow us to do a lot more boost and repays for different protocols, but also allow us to do some more specific things for users that they are asking for, like moving from one protocol to another one, or maybe doing whatever, basically whatever they can imagine of. The deployment of that is probably going to be in 2 phases. So phase 1 will be a predefined strategies by our chefs at DeFi Saver. So they collected a lot of requests during the past 2 years, and we figured out what are the things that people ask for most. And we're going to provide those in the beginning. Basically, you will just come, decide your parameters, and just subscribe to the automation. And that's phase 1. But in phase 2, as you probably can think of, we will try to allow you to build it by yourself. So same like recipe creator, you will be able to choose your own triggers and then to select what actions to be done at the time. I'll just try to show you some example that I thought of. So let's say you, for example, have a position where you have Avi as collateral and DAI as a debt. And you can say, like, if my ratio is over 200%, and let's say ETH price is lower than 3,000, borrow more DAI from my position and buy me more ETH with it, for example. So you can combine different protocols, different actions. You can, I mean, it's up to you what to do, honestly. There is one small thing at the end. So we have an announcement to make on March 3rd. We are going to start with our proof of concept for these strategies. It will be 3 different strategies you can select from. Basically, you will be able to say, if my maker position ratio is below a certain point, take some DAI from my savings, and your savings will be able to be in Rari protocol, mstable, or yearn. Take my DAI from there and save my position, repay the debt with it, and put my ratio above. So I think that's it.